In the 1960s, America discovered power, but it was in the 1970s when that power lost control. Engines so massive they defied logic, exhaust notes that could shake the ground, and a nationwide obsession with speed. It was a war between factories, streets, and egos. A decade where limits simply didn't exist. Today we're bringing back the golden age of automotive madness, the 10 most powerful American muscle cars of the 1970s. And believe me, you're not ready for the first one. 1970 Dodge Charger RT. The sound of this car wasn't just noise, it was a warning. The 1970 Charger RT represented the absolute peak of American mechanical arrogance. Wide, low, and with headlights hidden behind a blacked-out grille, it looked ready to devour the entire highway. Its muscular lines and endless hood gave the impression of movement even when standing still. And that bumblebee stripe across the rear, more than a detail. It was a signature, a visual mark of those who never feared attention. Under the hood beat the legendary 426 HEMI, 7.0 liters and 425 official horsepower, though everyone knew it easily pushed past 500. Just a slight touch of the throttle and the V8 roared with fury. There were also versions with the 440 Magnum and the 446 pack, featuring 3 Holley carburetors lined up like a firing squad, delivering 390 horsepower and enough torque to shred tires at will. Any Charger variant was a street-legal menace. Transmission options included the TorqueFlite automatic or the 4-speed manual with the iconic pistol grip shifter. Firm, mechanical, precise, perfect for drivers who love to feel every ounce of the car's response. The Dana 60 differential and rear-wheel drive did the rest. Brutal acceleration and surprising stability for a car weighing nearly 2 tons. Inside, the bucket seats, deep dashboard, and metallic finishes exuded confidence and excess. The Charger was the perfect balance between design and destruction. A car that embodied weight, presence, and an untamable personality. On the streets of the 70s, it was pure dominance, a symbol of power and defiance. When you saw one coming, you knew it wasn't time to compete. Today, a pristine 1970 Dodge Charger RT HEMI can sell for over $250,000 at U.S. auctions, with fully original examples easily reaching $300,000 or more, a price worthy of a legend that defined the sound and the soul of an entire era. 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6. If the Charger was the muscle, the Chevelle was the punch. 1970 was the year Chevrolet stopped competing and started dominating. Its look said it all. Taut lines, twin hood scoops, a blacked-out grille that looked like a defiant grin, and a wide, powerful stance that screamed authority. This wasn't a subtle car. It was a rolling provocation. Under the hood slept a beast, the 454 LS 6V8, 7.4 liters, officially rated at 450 horsepower and over 680 Newton-meters of torque, though everyone knew those numbers were conservative. With a 4-barrel Holley carburetor and a wild 11.2 5-to-1 compression ratio, the LS6 turned gasoline into pure fury. It could launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 5.4 seconds, numbers that embarrassed many European sports cars of its time. The Chevelle SS was the perfect mix of elegance and brutality. Inside, its bucket seats, symmetrical dash, and chrome accents gave it a rugged luxury feel. Out on the street, its dual white racing stripes weren't decoration. They were a visual declaration of war. Everyone knew that any car wearing those stripes wasn't there for a casual drive. The deep, throaty rumble of its dual exhaust became a universal language of respect. Unlike many of its rivals, the Chevelle could be a daily driver. It had that strange balance between refinement and savagery, a dual personality that made it the most complete muscle car of its era. With either a 4-speed Muncie manual or a turbo-hydromatic automatic, every gear change felt like an adrenaline shot straight to the pavement. Only about 4,500 LS, 6 units were ever built, making it sacred among collectors today. At auction, a pristine 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS 6 can fetch $275,000 to $350,000, while matching numbers cars with original engine and transmission have surpassed $400,000. A fair price for the car that pushed the word power to its physical limit and marked the absolute peak of the muscle car empire. 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. If there was ever a car that embodied America's obsession with raw power, this was it, the Cuda. Born from the Barracuda line, it was Plymouth's battle cry in the muscle car wars. Subtlety? None. Its split grille, round Predator-like headlights, and signature shaker hood, a scoop that literally quivered with every throttle blip, made it look alive, like the car itself was breathing fury. At its heart lay the legendary 426 Hemi V8 7.0 liters, rated at 425 horsepower. Though again, everyone knew it made far more. This was an engine born from NASCAR, and on the street it felt almost feral. The Hemi Cuda didn't ask to be driven. It demanded to be tamed. Owners often said that after just a few seconds of hard acceleration, it felt like the car wanted to tear itself out of their hands, as if it had a will of its own. Only 119 units of the 1971 model were ever produced, and just 12 convertibles, instantly turning it into a living legend. On the streets, spotting one was like seeing a comet. Its high-impact color palette, from plum crazy purple to lemon twist yellow, made it impossible to go unnoticed. This wasn't just a car, it was a personality statement. Inside, it was pure American muscle. Minimalist, dark, with a driver-focused dash and an exhaust note that drowned out any conversation. In 1971, the Hemi Cuda was as close as you could get to a race car with a license plate. It was the last roar before emissions laws and the oil crisis silenced the golden era of American power. Today, a genuine Hemi Cuda can fetch between $600,000 and over $3 million at auction, depending on its rarity and condition. It's more than a car. It's a piece of history, the symbol of the precise moment when America decided to see how far it could go, before losing control. We've now seen three legends that define the 1970s. But tell me something, if you could only take one home, would it be the Charger, the Chevelle, or the Hemi Cuda? Drop it in the comments. I want to see which one rules the community. 1970, Buick GSX. When everyone else was trying to be louder, the GSX arrived with a different attitude, elegant on the outside, but absolutely brutal within. It was the car of the man who wore a suit, but used it to race. Its look was commanding, wide stance, black stripes over bright yellow paint, rear spoiler, and a hood with functional scoops. It didn't need to shout. One glance was enough to know it was dangerous. Under the hood lived the legendary 455 Stage 1 V8, 7.5 liters and 360 officially rated horsepower, though real tests showed it easily topped 400. But raw power wasn't the most impressive part. It was the torque, a literal wall of force that made it one of the quickest accelerating cars of its time. On the streets, the GSX could humble any Chevelle, Charger, or Roadrunner without even breaking a sweat. Only 678 units were built in 1970, making it a collectible from day one. Inside, it blended comfort with aggression, leather bucket seats, a center-mounted tachometer, and metallic accents that reminded you Buick was still a luxury brand, even if that luxury now screamed at 6,000 RPM. It was the most refined of all muscle cars, proving that power and class could coexist in perfect harmony. The GSX came in just two official colors, Apollo White and the iconic Saturn Yellow, both with bold black stripes running the length of the body. It became a collector's item, even in its own era, since Buick would never again build something this extreme. It was the car for the kind of driver who didn't need to prove anything, just hit the gas and vanish. Today, a pristine 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1 can fetch between $200,000 and $250,000 at auction, and fully original examples often exceed $300,000. A car that didn't make as much noise as its rivals, but left an echo no one could forget. 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am SD 455. When the rest of Detroit began surrendering to emissions laws and oil crises, Pontiac decided to fight back, until the last roar. The Trans Am was its secret weapon, a machine that proved the muscle spirit wouldn't die quietly. Its design was pure drama, the massive hood decal with the Firebird blazing across it, the wide rear spoiler, and swollen fenders made it look like a predator in mid-hunt. Power came from the mighty 7.5-liter Super Duty 455 V8, officially rated at 310 horsepower. Though in truth, it produced much more. It was the last great engine of the era, a masterpiece of engineering that met emission standards without losing its savage personality. While others tamed their engines, the Trans Am stayed wild, a beast with a license plate. Its aerodynamics were surprisingly advanced. The 1973 Trans Am handled better than its predecessors, with improved balance and stability at high speeds. Pontiac had achieved the impossible, building a functional, powerful muscle car in an era that wanted them extinct. Inside, it felt more like a fighter jet than a car, a wraparound cockpit, deep gauges, and a driving position that made you feel like a pilot on a mission. The SD455 was the last glorious breath of the true muscle car. Fewer than 300 units were ever produced, making it an instant legend. And when every other brand lowered its flag, Pontiac kept the flame alive, with a car that combined resilience, rebellion, and cinematic style. Today, a 1973 Firebird Trans Am SD 455 can fetch between $180,000 and $250,000, depending on condition and authenticity. More than a car, it was a battle cry. Proof that the American roar never really dies. It just waits for the right moment to come back to life. 1970. Oldsmobile 442W30. If the Buick GSX was the muscle car with manners, the 442 was its cousin with iron fists under a tailored jacket. In 1970, Oldsmobile decided its serious division deserved a car that could humiliate anyone on the highway. The result was one of the most balanced and respected machines of its era, elegant, powerful, and dangerously underrated. Its name said it all: 442, 4-barrel carb, 4-speed transmission, and dual exhausts. Under the hood sat a 455 V8 paired with the W30 performance package, bumping output to 370 horsepower and an avalanche of torque. But numbers only told half the story. What truly defined the 442 was its personality. Brutal acceleration paired with an almost absurd smoothness, as if the car mocked physics with the grin of a gentleman. Visually, it was pure presence. Functional red air intakes on the hood, chromed 442 emblems, and a black side stripe made it recognizable from afar. Its silhouette was more restrained than its rivals, yet its stance, wide, solid, confident, commanded instant respect. Inside, typical Oldsmobile luxury prevailed. Wood-grain steering wheel, gold-accented gauges, and plush seats that reminded you that power could still have class. In its time, the 442 impressed critics and terrified competitors alike. On the streets, it was feared for its brute strength. On the highways, admired for its refinement. And while Oldsmobile never had the rebellious image of Dodge or Pontiac, this model proved that sophistication could roar just as loud. Today, a fully restored 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 sells for $150,000 to $200,000, with untouched originals exceeding $250,000. A car that didn't shout its power. It made it crystal clear with every inch it devoured on the asphalt. And now, tell me, between these three titans, the refined Buick GSX, the rebellious Trans Am SD 455, and this elegant yet ferocious Oldsmobile 442, which one would you take home if you could only choose one? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see which one wins the hearts of true American power lovers. 1971. Ford Mustang Mach 1. By the early 70s, the Mustang had grown, bigger, heavier, but also meaner. The Mach 1 was Ford's answer to a new decade that demanded presence and visual muscle. Its design was cinematic: long hood with dual scoops, low profile, recessed grille, and a strong rear end that looked made to disappear in clouds of tire smoke. This was a car that didn't just want to drive fast. It wanted to be seen, heard, and remembered. The most coveted engine was the 429 Cobra Jet, 7.0 liters and officially 370 horsepower, though its real figure easily surpassed 400. It was a beast in disguise, capable of propelling over 1,700 kilograms of metals with shocking ease. Acceleration was brutal, the roar unmistakable. In a time when horsepower was dying, the Mach 1 still had rebellion in its veins. Inside, it was pure Ford, sporty, immersive, and built like an action machine. The wraparound dashboard enveloped the driver. The three-spoke steering wheel offered perfect grip, and the black dials with orange needles looked straight out of a fighter jet. Everything about it felt cinematic, and it's no coincidence that the Mustang became Hollywood's favorite car hero. It looked and acted like the leading man. On the streets, the Mach 1 was a symbol of status and defiance. Even at a standstill, it looked like it was already accelerating. Ford offered it in bold colors like grabber blue or bright red, paired with black stripes and Magnum 500 wheels, a style that, half a century later, still defines American attitude. Today, a well-preserved 1971 Ford Mustang Mach, one can fetch $120,000 to $180,000, while Cobra Jet-equipped models easily exceed $200,000. It remains a tangible reminder of a time when speed was still a declaration of freedom. 1978, Chevrolet Camaro Z28. While most muscle cars had vanished, victims of oil crises and emission laws, the Camaro kept roaring. It wasn't the wildest or the most powerful, but it was the most stubborn. This was the car that refused to surrender, the last guardian of an era that refused to die. In 1978, Chevrolet brought it back sharper, meaner, and more modern. The perfect blend of nostalgia and evolution. The long hood with its central air intake, racing stripes running down the body, and twin recessed headlights gave it the look of a Predator rather than a sleek sports car. It turned heads in parking lots and drew smiles at stoplights. Sure, power had dropped since the glory days of 1970, but attitude hadn't. Its 350 V8, a 5.7-liter heart with around 185 horsepower, still delivered pure driving fun and that unmistakable sound that only a Camaro could make. Chevrolet understood something others had forgotten. A muscle car wasn't just about horsepower, it was about attitude, and the Z28 had it in spades. With sport suspension, quick steering, and a driver-focused cockpit, it felt more agile than ever. In a decade defined by restraint, the Z28 was rebellion on wheels. Today, a 1978 Camaro, Z28 in excellent condition, goes for $60,000 to $90,000, but its symbolic value is priceless. It was the car that kept the muscle dream alive when everyone else had been forced to wake up. 1970 Plymouth Superbird. It wasn't pretty, and it didn't need to be. The Superbird was built for one purpose: to win in NASCAR. In 1970, Plymouth took aerodynamic obsession to the brink of madness. A spear-shaped nose cone, a rear wing so tall it could double as a table, and a shape so outrageous many thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. The Superbird was a weapon, built for war at over 190 miles per hour, 305 kilometers per hour. Its creation was a calculated move. Plymouth wanted back its star driver, Richard Petty, who had defected to Dodge after the Charger Daytona's success. The Superbird was their lure and their masterpiece. Under the hood thundered the 426 HEMI V8, 7.0 liters, 425 horsepower, with an optional 446 pack for those who dared. On the track, it was a missile. On the street, an alien with license plates. The Superbird dominated NASCAR, hitting speeds over 200 miles per hour, 320 kilometers per hour. Unimaginable for its era. But its radical looks doomed it in showrooms. Plymouth had to build about 1,000 units for homologation, and many dealers couldn't sell them. Some even cut off the massive rear wing to make the cars look normal. A crime that makes collectors weep today. What was once a commercial failure became one of the most coveted machines in automotive history. Its mix of insane engineering, outrageous style, and race-bred heritage turned it into a symbol of American excess at its finest. Nobody ever dared to build something like it again. And that's exactly why it remains legendary. Today, an original 1970 Plymouth Superbird Hemi can sell for anywhere between $400,000 and $900,000, depending on condition and authenticity. 1971 AMC Javelin AMX. In an era when Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge ruled every inch of asphalt, AMC decided to fight back. It didn't have their budgets or fame, but it had something far more dangerous: pride. The AMX was the underdog's muscle car, the one few talked about, but everyone remembered after it roared past. Its design stood apart from everything else on the road. Long, flowing curves, widened fenders, and a sloping roofline gave it a distinctly European flavor, but its soul was unmistakably American. The front end, with its integrated headlights and aggressive grille, radiated tension, speed, and character. This was a car built with personality, not by committee. AMC wanted it to feel exclusive, and they nailed it. Under the hood, buyers could choose from several engines, but the real gem was the 401 V8, a 6.6-liter beast, producing 330 horsepower, enough to put. It is on equal footing with the heavyweights of its time. It wasn't the most powerful, but it was one of the most balanced. What made the Javelin special wasn't just its strength, it was its handling. More agile, more stable, and more precise than most of its rivals, it drove with a sense of control that was rare in the muscle car world. That's why AMC took it racing, and there, it earned its stripes. In the Trans Am Championship, the Javelin AMX proved it could win. Under the hands of drivers like Mark Donohue, it defeated Ford, Chevrolet, and Dodge, restoring AMC's place among the greats. On the street, it became a symbol of quiet rebellion, the muscle car for those who refused to follow the crowd. Today, a 1971 AMC Javelin AMX in excellent condition can fetch $90,000 to $150,000, though its true worth lies in what it represents. The last great roar of the company that dared to challenge them all. A car that didn't need to sell millions to become a legend. The 1970s were the last great roar of American power. A decade when engines still spoke louder than laws, when speed was an identity, and every muscle car seemed built not just from steel, but from pride. After them, nothing was ever the same again. The age of excess faded, but its echo still resounds every time a V8 comes to life. And now, tell me, of all these monsters that ruled the streets of the 70s, which one do you think best represents the indomitable spirit of the American muscle car? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know which of these legends still roars in your heart. And if you're still hungry for more, don't miss our previous video, The Most Iconic Muscle Cars of 1969, where you'll discover the year that started it all, the true birth of an era that changed automotive history forever. See you there.